Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for March 28th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. Anyone watching on Twitch, I'd like to thank you. Make sure you hit that follow button on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. Before we get started, we have a great show for you to do. Jack from the DRF Sportsbook, him and I were going to talk some Final Four, tell you what bets to lock in. We are also going to dive into some MLB futures. Plus, Gino will tell you his horse racing bet of the day. But before we jump into all that, I'd like to say a special thank you to the sponsor of the show, SHARPZ. SHARPZ is a bet tracking app that allows you to interact with other bettors. You can track your bets on it. Great way to get to know people and to bounce ideas off people in terms of the sports betting world. If you are interested in joining the app, click the link below and use promo code Etoft499. Now, before we welcome Jack to the show, I would like to see what Gino has a cooking at Oaklawn Park for the Oaklawn Derby.
This week, our best bet's going to come in the Arkansas Derby on Saturday at Oaklawn Park. Those past performances are already out, so you can take a look at drf.com and start your handicapping. That's race number 12 on Saturday, the Arkansas Derby, and usually you'll have 2 or 3 horses out of this race that will end up running in the Kentucky Derby next month, first Saturday in May. For me, I'm going to go to Rocket Can. I like Rocket Canyon here a little bit. Let's look at the last 4 races for this guy. Once he stretched out and was running longer, he really improved. Broke his maiden at Churchill, then came back and was second behind Confidence Game, who came back to win the Rebel. After a few months off, Rocket Can won the Holy Bull, and his speed figure took a nice step forward last time out when second in the Fountain of Youth behind Forte, who is your favorite right now. If the Kentucky Derby were to run today, he's no doubt the number 1 3-year-old. I think it's a good spot for Rocket Can. He is 4-1 on the morning line. Anything in that 7-2 range feels like great value for him. Best of luck this week with all your plays. Make sure to tune in every week to find all the best information and the best gambling stats and trends and everything you need to make some money right here with Eric.
Please make sure, if you're not giving my boy Gino a follow at It's Me Gino B, give him a follow. He has a podcast that comes out at the beginning of the week and at the end of the week. I'm always on the end of the week one, and we talk NBA, college basketball, college football, NFL, you name it. Him and I are talking about it. Now, I would like to welcome to the show from the DRF Sportsbook, Jack. Jack, how you doing today, my man?
Great. How are you?
You know what, dude? I am doing pretty well, dude. I
bet.
Sometimes we have a little stress-free situation. This is the second big sporting event in a row. I had futures on the Chiefs and the Eagles. I have futures on San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Miami, and UConn. I'm living life, man. How you doing?
I'm not in that great of a spot, but was coming off of a really solid Sweet 16 that took me into the Elite 8. Now we're here in the Final Four, and I think we can make some money going into these final 3 games of the season.
I made some money tonight with North Texas, man. I don't mean to brag, man. I made a little money with North Texas. Epic comeback, dude.
I love the NIT love. North Texas, a solid Conference USA team. Who were they taking on? Utah Valley State? Was that the team they were playing?
UAB is playing them. North Texas beat Wisconsin.
Okay, that's a good win. That's right. UAB is playing a school that I don't think any of us knew until the NIT bracket yesterday.
Now, you mentioned Conference USA. You're really dived into that conference before we jump into the show and everything and the bets. I mean, we got to give props where props are due. FAU Final Four. North Texas final of the NIT. And UAB is playing right now. No idea what the score is. I may be invested in the game, so I'm checking right now. They are currently up by 5 against Utah Valley. Kind of crazy where this conference is when you think about
it. And not only that, the CBI, which is something I know it's kind of by the wayside. No one really cares about the CBI anymore after COVID. But Charlotte, another CUSA school, won the CBI. And then they have all of these teams in the NIT. They have FAU in the NCAA tournament. You know the funniest part about all of that, though? with all this college football realignment and with the American having a bunch of their teams poached by the Big 12, and then the American Athletic Conference was trying to figure out how are we going to fill those voids. They went to the Conference USA and they just raided the cabinets. So they are taking FAU, North Texas, UAB, and Charlotte. All of the postseason teams that Conference USA has in for basketball are leaving the conference at the end of this year.
Which is absolutely awful.
But what a great,
awful to see.
What a great going away present from FAU to the conference, because the tournament shares, when you win games in the NCAA tournament, it gets you a large slice of the pie going back to your conference. And that doesn't go with the team, right? That goes with the conference. So FAU is giving Conference USA millions upon millions of dollars that they will use for the next 10 to 15 years. When VCU went on that Final Four run and when Mason went on that Final Four run, they were giving money. The Colonial Athletic Association just ran out of the money that those two teams gave them like 3 years ago.
I think it's like $8 million. I was looking. I think FAU got them $8 million, which is pretty good.
And another win gets them more, and another win after that gets them even more.
And it's crazy, like when you look at how you have the Conference USA tournament, which is basically in a football field run like an AAU tournament. 2 games going on at once, which is phenomenal. Been there once. Frisco, Texas will always have my heart. Love Frisco, Texas. And then when you just look at FAU's campus, their facility, and that fact that this team with that facility made it this far, kind of blows my mind, man. I'm not going to lie. It kind of blows my mind they made it this far.
Yeah. It's insane. They've recruited these guys too.
Yeah.
Like they've recruited that are dude with everything you just mentioned. So yeah.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to each give a takeaway from the past college basketball, the Sweet 16, Elite 8. One takeaway, because we got a lot of content. We got to jump in. We got to give Final Four bets. Got to give some MLB futures, because MLB starts Thursday, which everyone has kind of forgot, but we're here to take care of you. What is your takeaway from the past weekend?
The transfer portal is amazing, which it's a mix of what's happening right now in the transfer portal. All of these teams that are no longer playing, their guys are jumping around. Teams are trying to reconfigure, do roster management, everything like that. But also, this is UConn, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, and why am I blanking on the last team? Miami. Miami. That's why I forgot them. That's why I forgot them. They're the only like non, UConn's not really a mid-major, this smaller basketball only conference. And it's just amazing that these teams are able to go into the portal, find guys that fit their system, and just retool. It's the Wild West. We do need to put some more, restraints on the transfer portal. But my biggest takeaway, seeing these teams in the Final Four, and not seeing a blue blood, and this is no shade to one and dones. Go get your money, do what you need to do. But I think this is just showing that you need an experienced backcourt. You need experience on your team. So my biggest takeaway is the transfer portal is freaking awesome.
And that is right. That report did come out. Nigel Pack from Miami, getting a modest $400K for the season to be playing.
Yeah, so
at the U.
They're kind of antithesis of that, right? Like San Diego State probably doesn't have an NIL collective. FAU probably doesn't have an NIL collective. UConn might have an NIL. And then you got Miami, which is being bankrolled by some rich Miami like mogul. So it's just kind of the antithesis of what the other 3 teams are doing.
Dusty May, who's a coach at FAU, he's already commented that he has coaches calling players right now and recruiting during this run. I think that's a little bush league. Let the player experience it. Don't get out of the way. Once they're eliminated, you want to do that, totally fine. But during the run, I think that's a little bush league. And the one thing, I think Miami's kind of got a leg up on it, because when you look at them, Life Wallet, the guy that owns Life Wallet, he funds all their NIL stuff.
Yeah.
It's just one thing. It's just one person in there. All these other schools have different businesses and everything. When you just kind of look at it, I think why Larry Naga is able to manage all the NIL stuff and people don't get jealous, it's just one person managing it. You know what I mean? So I think that makes it a little easy for him, but I do think that needs to kind of be addressed because I think some of these NIL deals are a little crazy. And someone told me how many people get 500 or more to play, and it blew my mind. I was told from a legitimate source, Timmy got $1 million this past year.
It doesn't surprise me.
I mean, that blows my mind, which kind of segues me into my next point. I think we're going to start to see the fall of Gonzaga basketball with Timmy leaving, and more importantly, Tommy Lloyd not being there. It's no secret that Mark Few isn't the grinder. He's not the grinder like Izzo is. The grinder, I'm trying to think of another coach who's just like a Sean Miller, Shaka Smart. He's not these grinder type of guys. He's a guy in the summer that likes to spend time with his family. They don't do any overseas trips because he doesn't want that to cut into his summer vacation. And Lloyd handled all of the recruiting. Let's look at the last 3 recruiting class when Lloyd was there. 4th in the country, 7th in the country, 13th in the country. Pretty good. Last 2 years with no Lloyd. 57th in the country last season. Season coming up, 38th. That's, you know what I mean? You're not getting the players. You're going to see the decline. We kind of saw it this year. Lost to LA, Loyola Marymount, heading, right there with St. Mary's. I'm not saying they're not going to be dominating the WCC, but when you have these teams that could make a run and win it all, I think that's done what they got Gonzaga. I think their ceiling is going to start to become like Sweet 16.
And you made a good point about the grinders. They have a grinder in their own conference. Randy Bennett with St. Mary's is a grinder, and they're nipping on the heels of Gonzaga. If they slip up, I can see that. I can see the fall of Gonzaga pretty easily. And you don't often see a 25-year run of greatness, let alone a 25-year run of mid-major greatness, which I know we all joke that Gonzaga is not a real mid-major, but at the end of the day, they're playing in the WCC. They've made the WCC a lot of money with those tournament shares, but I think it may be coming to an end.
And it's kind of crazy when you think about it. We mentioned the WCC. Like BYU's leaving. BYU, what are they going? Big 12 or whatever?
Big 12.
0 conference titles. They were brought in there to challenge Gonzaga, elevate the program, did not win 1 conference title, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Because we need to remember with these college coaches, there's always a guy behind the guy that does a lot of the grunt work and people don't know about it. And I know that's what Lloyd was for Few. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. Maybe in the transfer portal, like we're starting to see some big names. And before we jump into the Final Four, I saw Kerr Kisna is in the transfer portal. If you had to pick, because I have my place for this, and I wanted to ask you this, the perfect marriage/nightmare for Kerr Kisna to transfer to, and he plays now keep in mind when I ask you this, he plays no defense. Where would that be? Because I have my place, and I'm dying to see it, and I hope it comes true. It looks like Jack has frozen. My thing is with Kerr Krishna, he doesn't really play that much defense. I would absolutely love Kishna to go to West Virginia, see him and Huggy Bear go at it. I think that would be a nightmare scenario, and just those two going at it on the sidelines would be absolutely positively awesome. On top of that, Caleb Love entered the transfer portal. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes. I know Indiana is getting some stuff, so I really don't know where he is going to go to. Indiana's getting some love. Obviously, there is some off the court stuff that happened with him, so it's going to be really interesting to see where Caleb Love goes to. But yeah, Kerr Krishna going to West Virginia would be an absolute positively dream scenario for me. I think it would be fun on the sideline, seeing Huggy yelling at him for not playing defense. Reality of the situation, I think he probably goes to Xavier just because Sean Miller did recruit him. Now, with all that, Jack just texted me, his internet checked out. He's down in Carolina, where they're having a little weather issue. He'll be back with us shortly. Now, in terms of the Final Four games, like I said, I am sitting pretty. I have futures on every single Final Four team. All right, you are back, my man. So we're talking a little Kirk Kishna, dude. I don't know if you heard my rant where I want Kirk Kishna to go. Did you hear it?
I did not.
Okay. So when I say Kirk Kishna, what would be a dream scenario and a nightmare scenario all rolled up in one for him to go to?
All rolled up into one, both great and bad. Guy doesn't play defense. My nightmare scenario is UVA.
Close. I'm thinking West Virginia, dude. Him and Huggy Bear going at it, dude. Him not playing defense, just chucking, dude. I would absolutely love to see him at West Virginia.
That would be hilarious. Any defensive deep, because Huggins is just so much more animated than Tony Bennett is. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, he would go at it all the time with him. Where do you think Caleb Love goes to? Rumor is Indiana.
I think whoever throws the biggest bag at, if that's Indiana, that makes total sense. But also at the same time, I think whatever program they need to really tailor that offense towards him. I'm not a big Caleb Love supporter. I think he took a lot of shots away from Armando Bacot, and I'm very glad that Bacot's coming back, and I'm kind of glad Caleb Love is leaving UNC. Will against Caleb Love when he's on. They made it to the Final Four in the national championship a year ago, but when he's off, he's bad. He's very bad. So Indiana, that makes a lot of sense. Another team that maybe, looking for a guy, maybe blue blood, I could see Miami.
That'd be awesome if he went to Miami. Now, it's kind of funny, too. Bangkok has kind of turned into a modern-day Ellis from Kansas back in the day, the guy that's been there for just years on top of years on top of years on top of years. So now we're going to jump into our Final Four bets, thoughts of the game. The first game we're going to talk about, we're leading us off, FAU against San Diego State. Talk to me here, big dog.
From what I've seen out of South Dakota State, San Diego State, whoa, that's your FC football brain in me. When I see SDSU, I think South Dakota State, not San Diego State. But from what I've seen from the Aztecs, they're elite defensively. They are offensively challenged at times. And with those two things coming together, I think this is just like FAU playing Tennessee again. I think FAU +2 is the play. I think FAU, I'm going to bet the money line, but on your show, I'm trying to give out winners. So I'm going to go a little bit on the safer side where, a phantom foul call doesn't destroy you like it did for Creighton bettors and Creighton fans. But I just don't think State has power to keep up with an FAU squad that 8 of their 9 go-to players this season have an offensive rating per KenPom over 100. I don't know if I agree with you, Bobby, there. We'll agree to disagree on what a foul is and how they were calling that entire game. I imagine you maybe have a little bit of money on San Diego State to win that, and if you did, I completely understand. But I just think FAU, they got the dudes. They're capable of winning. They're going to body. San Diego State likes to play inside out. And when you have a 7-footer in Golden, I can't even pronounce his first name, not even going to try and pronounce his first name. But that dude down there, he's going to make life hell for the Aztecs. So I like FAU +2. I'm betting them on the money line as well.
Interesting matchup for me. Since I have both teams to win it all, still touting myself. When I look at this matchup, I see San Diego State really good at defending the 3. And this is going to be the best 3-point defense that FAU is going to play in the tournament. And I know people are going to point out Tennessee. My counter to that is teams shot 27% on wide open threes against Tennessee this season. That means no one was within 3 feet and they were just missing. This team, And I had San Diego State beating Alabama. Why? Because San Diego State's good defending the three, and they're good defending the rim. That's what Alabama likes to do. FAU likes to shoot the three. FAU, best three-point defense still in the tournament. And also, when you think about it, it's really crazy that San Diego State has made it this far, and their best offensive player, Matt Bradley, has yet to have that game. You know what I mean? He is due. IU shot quality, great site if you're a basketball bettor. He is due for some positive shot regression. And what San Diego State does, and I really think we're going to see some rule changes because of how they play, they basically just dare you to call fouls. This is going to be like a rugby match, like the coach, like Dusty May said. Yeah. This is going to be another rugby match. They're going to play physical. They're going to bang up. And I just think I'm seeing a bunch of 23-year-olds, because that's what San Diego State is, against a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds. I'm going to take the older team. I'm going to take the better defensive team, and I'm going to bet Bradley has that game. I took San Diego State minus the 2.
Okay, so we're on very opposite ends of the spectrum. I dig it. I like it.
So it looks like we're going to have our first ever Busch Light 6-pack bet. So you know what? Whoever wins this game owes whoever loses this game, owes the winner a 6-pack of the best beer in the world, Busch Light, man.
I dig it. I respect it. I respect it. No, I like your reasoning for it too. And I think there is some solid stuff on it. I just think FAU has played this game. They played it against, they played a rugby match. And San Diego State hasn't. I don't think they've played a team like this in the tournament. San Diego State started with Charleston. They went to Furman. They had a battle against Alabama, but I was kind of low on Alabama in the tournament. I don't think it was necessarily the Alabama team that we all had toted the entire year. Then a good Creighton team, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Maybe my Conference USA bias is showing through a little bit.
You think Charleston looks back and looks at FAU and says this should be us? Because they were that mid-major darling in January, December.
I think Charleston, yeah. Not necessarily that they look back and they go, this could be us. But I think they look back and they go, if we just played a little bit better against San Diego State, we win. And I know this is the tournament and it's a single elimination, everything like that. But it feels like in 3 of the 4 games that San Diego State has played in, if the other team played just a little bit better, they'd be gone.
Yeah. And it's kind of also another thing is their coach, and I'm spacing on the guy's name.
Brian Dutcher.
He's like 61% ATS when he has 4 more days to prepare for a game, which I found absolutely insane. I mean, the guy, you want to talk about a grinder? That guy is a grinder. That guy is a beach-toting grinder. Next game, showcase game. We got the U. We got Miami against UConn. Real quick before we jump into that, there's a lot of rumors going around about Dusty May, where he's going to look to go and everything. I read this report, how his family likes Boca. He likes Boca. My thought process is this. I think he's just going to wait until Larinaga calls it a career. What is that, 3 years tops? And then he's going to look to go to Miami.
I like that. I also wouldn't put it past FAU to find a way to get him some cash and keep him around.
I mean, there's a lot of money in Boca, dude. I mean, Boca's a nice little area. There's a ton of cash in Boca.
Yeah, you can keep Dusty May there, and you're making the jump to the. So not only are you going from Conference USA, you're going to what you could argue is a Big Six, one of those power players. You're playing the likes of Houston, Memphis, these kind of big name teams that you'll get at large looks. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, Dusty. This is no Fairleigh Dickinson winning a game and Tobin Anderson finding his way to Iona. FAU is a legit squad.
Now, you mentioned at-large bids. If they lose to UAB in the conference finals,
Yes. Do they get an at-large?
Do they get an at-large?
Yes. I think they would have
I think
been
so too.
I think they would have been a 14 or like a 15. I think the committee would have disrespected them in what their seed would have been. But at 9, that tells me they were secure enough that if they had lost that game, they would have gone in. And I bet Conference USA is pissed that Middle Tennessee couldn't win the championship game against them. Or whoever won the championship game.
UAB. My boy Jelly Walker.
Jelly's fun.
Now let's go into the last game, Miami UConn. Really interesting game here. I want to hear what your thoughts are about this.
I'm terrified of this game, man. I'm absolutely terrified. This gives me flashbacks to the UCLA Gonzaga game. I was all over UCLA in that game. I was thinking, I fall into the old adage, defense wins championships, offense sells tickets. And I was like, there's no way Gonzaga's 100th ranked defense is going to slow down this UCLA offense. And yeah, Gonzaga may be able to score a lot, but that really won't matter, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm sitting here in this game and I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, Miami kind of just a better UCLA. No, UConn's the better UCLA. And Miami is the Gonzaga. There we go. My train of thought just went off the rails there for a second. But I think at the end of the day, UConn is the best team remaining in the tournament by all advanced metrics. They match up extremely well points in this Miami defense. UConn shoots the 2 at a 53.6% clip. That's going up against a Miami defense that allows a 51.6% clip from inside the arc. That's 246th in the nation. So it's a lower third team in defending the 2, and UConn is going to feast. An interesting tidbit about this game, UConn's players will be fasting during the game. UConn's Sanago, I'm not sure the other 2. I just saw this up the other day where they're observing Ramadan, so they are unable to eat or take in any liquids from sunrise to sunset. And in Houston, they will be at least one of these games during that periods for at least a little bit of the game. So that's something to potentially monitor. But they are guys who've been playing like this for their entire lives, so they probably know how to handle it. But just an interesting tidbit.
If you had is this the game to watch? If you had one ticket to the Final Four, which one would you go to?
Between this and the FAU game, I think this is going to be the better game. So this one.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on that. Now, this is interesting. This one is pretty interesting. Is Sanoku transferring after
we both are just
season?
Butchering this guy's last name. I have no idea how to pronounce it either.
So this is my thought process. Now let's go back to Purdue a couple of years ago. They had Edey on the bench, 7-foot guy.
Yep.
And they had Williams. I'm spacing on his first name.
Carson.
Williams, the center. Caleb Williams. Boom. Caleb Williams. Now he was out there, and he went from playing like 30, 35 minutes a game, and that next season, dude, Edey was playing like 20. I was there at that game when they played Yale in last year's tournament, and it was really weird. Like, I've never seen a team on a sideline be as disconnected. Do you think with the strides that the backup center, I'm spacing, it's a 7-foot guy from UConn. I'm spacing on his name. I'm sorry.
Donovan Cunningham.
Yes. Do you think if we see him put on a little bit more muscle, he could be that Edey where he cuts in to that guy's minutes and then that guy leaves in the transfer portal? Or do you think he's just kind of locked in there?
I think they play 2 different positions. I think Sanogo is more of a 4 and Klingen's more of the 5. So I think they can play complementary basketball. Where with Williams and Edey, I think they both were vying for the 5. And with Edey, you can't really put him anywhere else. And so he's going to eat up those minutes regardless. And with the upperclassmen, are they going to take the time to kind of learn a new position and kind of figure that out? I also don't know where Sanogo would go. Like, and make an immediate impact. He would make an impact wherever he went, but like it'd almost be a step down wherever he goes if he does leave UConn.
Hey, as a Michigan State fan, I'd welcome him with open arms. As an MSU
I
fan,
bet.
I would welcome him with open arms. And you kind of mentioned this, like with how you answer this question. The age of the big man is just gone. Let's look at the last three players of the year, all centers. Garza lost first round to Richmond. Last year it was Shibwe, lost first round to St. Peter's. This year, Edey lost first round to Fairleigh Dickinson. So you got to have guard play. I'm sure he'll get like the hookup, and I know with NIL money and kids that are from overseas, it gets a little tricky and everything. But it wouldn't really shock me if he transferred. For me, this game is interesting. The big knock of Miami was defense and rebounding. They're only giving up 70.3 points per game in the tournament, and they're plus 23 in the rebounding for the tournament, which really touts into how good Omier has been playing in the interior. The one thing for me is who's going to guard Jackson, because that's the guy, whoever you put on Jackson is going to help out. Now, if Jackson steps back, he hits a couple threes at the beginning of the game, then that's going to change everything. But that's not what Jackson is. He's playing in Houston, a bigger type stadium, the depth perception of the rims. If I'm Larranaga, what I do is I put Miller on Jackson and let him be the help player, and I try to shut down Hawkins, and then I force Carbonat to beat me. If Carbonat has 20 points and I'm Larranaga, I'm fine with it. But I don't want to lose because Hawkins just starts going off. Like, that's my mindset if I'm Larranaga. My bet in this game is going to be under 71 points for the first half. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a grimy game. I think UConn's going to be physical with Miami's guards. I think the depth perception of the rim and the shooting. And then also, I'm telling you, per shot quality, both these teams are due for shot regression. And that was my big thing why I took San Diego State against Creighton. Now, granted, was there a questionable call at the end? Yeah. But the thing is this, is like, after a team has a great shooting game, I like to fade them the next game. Kansas State, after they played Michigan State, faded them after that. You know, I look for that spot to fade after absurd shot quality numbers, and that's where I look to take my spot. And that's kind of why I'm taking this, is because both these teams are due for some shot regression.
Yeah, I dig it.
Now, MLB future times. And during our notes, I'll tell you what, the way my head spins, when I was working out this morning, I thought of another future I'm going to lock in. So I actually have 4, big dog. I actually have 4 futures. I'll let you kick us off, man. I have how many you got?
I have 3. I went with a 3.
Okay. Right.
I have 2 that I feel comfortable about. They're not necessarily the craziest. And there's one that is absolutely asinine that I love. That for some that I'm going to throw $5. That's the one I'm going to finish it off on. But my first future that I like a lot is the Mariners to win the AL West. They're going to dethrone the Astros this year. There's absolutely no value on betting the Astros to win the AL West. I think they're like minus 240 or something absolutely absurd. No, folks, the Mariners. Am I a little biased? Have I come on here before and talked about my love for the Seahawks, and that may be impacting my thought process here? Maybe a little bit, but they're coming off of their first playoff appearance in so long. They had another 90-72 season, and their rotation is sneaky good with Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, and they got and Gilbert, George Kirby. I think they got a solid rotation paired with one of the budding superstars in the league in Julio Rodriguez. They got Colton Wong coming over from the Brewers. Ty France is really solid. I think this has the nucleus to win a lot of games, have some fun, and I think, plus I can't root for the Astros for that reason. I think they're fun, and I think they have the best value of all like division winner futures.
I like it. I like that Mariners team a lot. And as someone that can't sleep, and I'll tell you guys what, if you bet baseball, watch baseball, unplugged advertise here, 6-star TV, phenomenal, $6 a month. You get all the stations and you can watch every single baseball game. Someone doesn't sleep. I watched a lot of Mariners baseball on those West Coast games. Fun young team. And I could totally see him dethroning the Houston Astros. Misty chimes in, don't crap on the Astros. This is a anti-Astros show. I hate the Astros. I hate the Astros.
Sorry, finish your thought.
No, go ahead.
Just the issue is, you said they're so young, and I mentioned Logan Gilbert and George Kirby and, Rookie of the Year, Julio Rodriguez. It is a very young team, so there is a little volatility there where they can be great or they can be questionable at times.
But, I mean, if we just kind of look at the lay of the land in the AL West, I mean, what are we working with? Oakland, arguably them or KC, or my Tigers, worst team in baseball. Angels, I mean, Trout and Ohtani have been an absolute nightmare. And let's face it, Ohtani's gone. Would it surprise you if Ohtani's traded to the Dodgers or Yankees or the Mets, one of those big market teams?
Yeah.
And Texas Rangers, I mean, they just signed the pitcher from the Mets, DeGrom, and he's hurt all the time. So they're going to get a lot of those wins from those teams, and then it's just going to be a battle between them and the Astros. My first one is former Houston Astros pitcher Justin Verlander, under 189.5 strikeouts. He's gone over this total twice in the last 5 seasons, in 2019 and in 2018. And in both years, he appeared in 34 games. I think with his age, it's unrealistic that he's going to appear in that many games. Plus, we have to remember, we have the pitch count clock now. I think this is going to force pitchers to pitch at a faster pace. Thus, pitching at a faster pace, I think we're going to see starting pitchers. I think we're going to see them have like shorter starts instead of going 6, 7, maybe 5.5 innings. And he's constantly showing if he doesn't get to 34 games, he's not going to go over this total. If I don't think he's going to pitch 34 games, I think this total makes complete and utter sense to me. So, Justin Verlander under 189.5 strikeouts.
Yeah. And another thing with him being age and having that many strikeouts, you have to trust that he's going to be healthy for a full season and he's not going to miss, 5 starts. Because if he misses 5 starts, he may have just missed 25 innings. And with 25 innings, he may have just missed 30 strikeouts. And then all of a sudden, he's going to have to go on some rapid pace. And so when I was looking at pitcher totals and things of that sort, I was thinking of it in terms of innings. And I was like, do I trust this player to maintain their health and not miss a 10-inning stretch? Because if they do, this bet's blown up in my face.
And you mentioned that, and you see a lot of these drop. Like Ohtani's strikeout prop, I think it's dropped by like 20, 25 from where it opened up. It's just absolutely insane. Second future, my friend.
Another future. This one's on the Padres. They're plus 900 to win the World Series. I think that's a good one. I think this is a management group that is in win now. We saw what they did last year at the deadline, going after Juan Soto, getting Josh Bell in that deal as well. Josh Bell's no longer with the team. I forgot where he landed this free agency, but they still have Juan Soto. They have a pitching rotation that has Joe Musgrove, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish. Both their pitching rotation wasn't necessarily the strongest for the entire season a year ago. You have to imagine that's going to at least come back more to the mean. And even with all that being said, they made it to the NLCS. And this was a team we had written off like 3 times during the year last year. Oh, and they bring back Tatis, assuming they bring back Tatis, with Machado, with Soto, with a pitching staff that you would hope takes a more of an average step forward. I think at plus 900, they're tied 5th for the best odds with the Mets. I think this is a roster that has maybe the 2nd or 3rd best roster in the league. And the fact that you can get them at the fifth best odds. To me, there's a little disconnect, and so I'm going to jump on that.
Love the Padres. Excuse me. Absolutely love them. I think they're going to be absolutely live, especially with that pitching staff and with just the hitters they have. And they made it so far last year. I think those guys are going to thrive from that experience and take that next step into this year. My next bet, and this is the team they lost to. I'm going Phillies plus 1,800 to win the World Series. Now,
bold.
This is the one thing though. This is the thing though. Harper's going to miss the start of the season with Tommy John injury. If you think they're going to struggle a little bit to start the season, you can wait and you're probably going to get a better price on them. But Nolo's in a contract year. Nolo is a pit bull and they're going to give him the extension. This dude is going to be throwing gas. I would put a little money on him to even win the Cy Young. When you just look at their pitching staff, their big issue with them was obviously the bullpen, the relief pitcher. They added Soto from my Tigers to be their closer. That's a huge upgrade. They're not going to have the issues with the relief pitchers blowing the leads. They also added Trey Turner, who arguably could be the best shortstop in the game. So that's going to uptick the lineup offensively. Then they added Walker from the Mets, and that's going to improve because now you have him, Wheeler, and Nolo at the beginning of the rotation. I just kind of feel with the Braves being the Braves, the upgrade the Mets made, Dodgers being the Dodgers, Padres, I think this Phillies team is just kind of getting lost in the mix. And I've seen him 1,800. That's just too good to pass up.
Yeah. Trey Turner, if he can do half of what he did BC, he's going to be fantastic this season.
Now, third future, my friend. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll give my third future because I have 4. I was a jerk and came up with 4 and now.
No, I love it. I love it.
My third one, and I'll tell you what, this is going to be a homer one because you know what? I'm a Detroit sports fan. Absolutely homer. Give me Spencer Torkelson over 16.5 home runs. Hit the ball well in spring training. Last year, I know I was disappointed. He leads all the major league and Tigers in average exit velocity this spring with a mark of 96.4 miles per hour. And he ranks 7th in all spring training among players with at least 100 pitches seen in this department. Plus, we need to remember the Tigers did something this year with Comerica. They moved the fences in. That is going to turn from a pitcher's park to a hitter's park. Torkelson's going to be live. I absolutely love him. I found this number on Bet Online. Torkelson over 16.5 home runs. Absolutely love it for my boys.
I dig it. All right. My third one and final one did not come up with 4, but this third MLB bet, it's a little off the wall. The chances of it hitting in the odds, very unlikely. Brewers to hit the most home runs this season at plus 2,300.
Okay.
They hit the third most home runs a year ago behind the Braves and the Yankees. The Yankees were helped out by a 62 home run performance from Aaron Judge. Now, look, I know they're probably going to repeat it, but there's just not a lot of value in betting the defending home run champs to win it again. I think they're like plus 400 to win it all. And by win it all, I mean hit the most home runs because we all know that's all that matters in baseball today. But there's going to be some regression there. So maybe the Braves can leapfrog them. Maybe they continue to just hammer in the piss out of the ball and doing what they do. The Brewers were third, though. They returned 6 of the 9 players from a season ago that hit double-digit home runs. They play in a ballpark that is relatively friendly to home runs being hit. Since 2020, the 7th most home runs have been hit at their home stadium. They play in a division that have the Reds, which I believe has the 2nd most home runs allowed in their stadium as well. The Cubs have the 17th most, so just below half. And then the Cardinals are a little tough, and I believe the Pirates are also tough. So that may throw a wrench in this. But at plus 2,300, I think it's a very, very fun bet to make.
I like that. Where I live in the Chicago suburbs, it's easier for me to go up to Milwaukee than it is to down to Chicago,
Mhm.
especially with all this goddamn construction that's going on. It's made getting to the city absolutely a nightmare for me. 4 lanes is now allowed down to 2, just absolute nightmare. But I go up to whatever it is. I'm always going to call it Miller Park. There's a ton of dingers hitting that place, dude.
Yeah.
An absolute ton of dingers hitting that place. My next one, and this is me a little bit out of the box thinking, thought of this one when I was actually working out this morning, but this is another one I think you need to wait on. No, this is one I'm going to wait. I actually did lock in the Phillies, excuse me, but this one I'm waiting on. I'm going to wait on the Rays. And the thought process is they have a couple of injuries. Glasgow, another pitcher injury I'm spacing on, so I think they're going to struggle. But this is the team with that pitching staff and those relievers. They have a couple rookies coming up, and Curtis Mead, who is an absolute stud. He's going to come up at, I don't even know, you know that rule with like, you have to like spend so long in the farm system so they don't extend you. That's what the Rays are doing with him. They have some young kids coming up, pitchers getting better. I think at the end of May, beginning of June, as soon as we see like a 30-1 on the Rays, that's a hammer time for me. Just because I think the value is going to be there with how good they're going to be once the pitchers get into the routine. You know what? I am a homer with my Spencer bet, and I gladly admit it. Jack, I'd like to thank you for coming on, taking some time off of your busy day. I know you actually called a baseball game for Coastal Carolina earlier today. How did those guys do, my man?
For Charlotte baseball, UNC
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
My fault.
No, you're all good. They won on a walk-off wild pitch. Took down Gardner Webb, a big South opponent. But if you ever wonder why why I'm always plugged into Conference USA, it's because I live 5 minutes from the Charlotte campus. So find myself watching a lot of Conference USA action, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball. Just learned today that you can bet on college baseball regular season. I was not aware that those markets were available. So I'm going to have myself a fun little weekend coming up as Charlotte heads down to Birmingham to take on UAB.
Club Lit is right down the street, man. That's the place to be in. Oh, it was the place to be in.
Club Lit. Now Will Healy is club unemployed, and they've brought in Biff Poggi. If that name doesn't ring a bell, then I don't think that's very much different from the rest of the country.
I'd like to thank you for coming on. You do some stuff for the DRF Sportsbook. Why don't you tell everyone what you do for the DRF Sportsbook?
Yeah, social media manager for them. All content, everything that is really outward facing social media. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. Any social, we try and get on there. And you can follow us at DRF Sportsbook there. And you can follow my love for mid-major basketball. James Madison is my alma mater, so I'm tweeting always about how I want them to get a big man transfer in the portal. So if you want to see me, just tweet at JMU Basketball endlessly as these transfer reports come out. You can follow me at Fitz All the Way, FITZ all the way as well.
Dude, get your boy Sonogo, dude. Get Sonogo down at the old JMU playing some ball, dude.
I need to say JMU's tallest man was 6'8" this last season. They need a bigger guy than that.
As someone that may have had a future on them to win the conference, I totally agree with you on that, my friend. Thanks for coming on. Make sure to give my boy Jack a follow at Fritz All the Way. Also follow the DRF Sportsbook at DRF Sportsbook. We'll be back next week talking some MLB. Good luck on all your futures. Until next week, boys and girls.